Good morning, everyone. Ken Roper here at the County Administration Building. I am joined this morning by Pierce Womack, who's representing our Emergency Management Division. Also, slightly off camera, you'll hear from Tyler Merck, who's representing our Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Department, and Lisa Bryant, who will be representing our Human Resources Department. The purpose of this morning's conversation and briefing is to give you some ideas about the way that Pickens County is going to come out of the COVID-19 situation here over the next few weeks. If you've been involved with information we've put out over the last few weeks, you know that one thing that's important to us is that we do measured steps, measured incremental steps, and we be ready to respond if situations change. So what we've developed, and we have to give the thanks to our Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Department for coming up with a concept here that we're applying, but it's KickStart Pickens County. The idea is we're keeping a wary eye on the circumstances, but we all need to come together. We all need to recommit ourselves. We all need to head into this summer unified in how we are responding. So the thought process is we need a motivational step. We need a kickstart. We need to remind ourselves that there are things we can do to help in this situation, and we don't need to get lax. We need a kickstart. We need to remind ourselves that our local government has services that the local citizens desperately need. And while it might be easy for us to hide behind our doors and hope for this to play out, no, we in local government need a kickstart. So KickStart Pickens County is how we're branding this project. It's a three-phase plan. And we will talk about those three phases today, but mainly we'll focus on phase one. And I'll tell you that the idea here is that we are adaptable to circumstances. Each phase is set out roughly over a 2-week period. So you'll see in phase one, local government starts opening up a little, but mainly preparing for phase two. Phase two, we're targeting for May 18th, and that's a target date, if circumstances allow, for us to open up a little more. And then our goal is for on June 1st for us to open back up fully, but with new procedures, new safety measures to protect both the public and our county workers. The primary thing we're worried about here is the safety of the public and the safety of our county workers. So you'll see those phases. The idea of having a three-phase response, and what I really like about the procedure that we've set up, is that if circumstances change in phase one, it's easy for us to say, let's not institute phase two yet. The same thing for phase three. It gives us some adaptability in a situation that we know is changing. But we are seeing here locally that our numbers of positive COVID tests is staying relatively stable. We have 50 some odd cases now over the entire event that have happened in Pickens County, but only in the teens, 16 to 19, occasionally we've gotten to 20, 21. Of those are considered active cases, meaning in the last 14 days. One aspect of Kickstart you're going to see in phase one, in recognition of this relatively stable environment, is that we're going to begin opening up some things. We're going to be mindful of the changes. We're going to be deliberate. We're going to be measured. This is a plan that was developed by county staff, and I am extremely proud of them for the way that they have developed this plan. It was developed individually at the department head level. So each department said what they thought they needed to do within this three-phase scheme. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. We want to invite other municipalities, because the request has come in to us from some, other municipalities and outside agencies to feel free to take advantage of this frame, this plan, this three-phased approach, so that we can all be coordinated together. Obviously, the municipalities, the outside agencies have their own determinations to make, and we respect that. But to the extent that any agency or municipality within Pickens County wants to use this frame for their response, we welcome that and we'll offer assistance wherever we can. Some examples of the way that the three-phase plan will work in phase one. For example, at the airport will begin in phase one offering more services in the way of navigation fuel. They'll still keep their building limited access, but they'll start adding more services for full service navigation fuel. The Register of Deeds office, for example, is going to, during phase one, allow attorneys and paralegals back into the Register of Deeds office by appointment to use the the records and the terminals there. The clerk of court's office is going to begin allowing attorneys and paralegals to come in and drop off documents in the building and to make appointments as well. So you'll see those changes. Mile Creek is going to make some changes, and Tyler will speak to those in just a moment. The probate court is going to start allowing in phase 1, which kicks off, if I haven't mentioned, as of Monday, taking appointments for emergency hearings. They're still going to encourage people to do things like marriage licenses, applications through the mail. Voter registration, now that we're coming up on primary time, we'll begin making appointments and allowing people to come in. So call voter registration in advance. You'll be able to come in and do your business there. The museum is going to open for regular hours. So we encourage you to visit the Pickens County Museum starting on May the 4th. However, the programs will still be delayed for a later time. The library is going to resume drive-through service at their drive-through window at the main branch. So that'll happen as of Monday. You'll see these are various examples, and we'll push this information out for department by department level. And we encourage you to call us if you have any questions about how this is going to play out. But again, we think as we continue to look at our response based on current conditions, there are limited ways that we can open starting on Monday. But one of the main things we're going to start doing on Monday is our building maintenance folks, our emergency management folks, other parts of our county government are going to start preparing in earnest for phase 2. So that's going to be one of our primary responsibilities, so that we can, as quickly as possible, get back to more access for you, the citizens, because we as public servants see that as our primary responsibility. I'm going to turn this over now to our Parks, Recreation, and Tourism representative here today, Mr. Tyler Merck.
Hey, I'm Tyler. I'm the Assistant Director of Parks, Recreation, and Tourism for Pickens County. Happy to be here today to talk about our KickStart program and how that's going to look for our department. So first I'll talk about Mile Creek Park. We are excited to be getting back open this weekend. That is at a very limited capacity. What we're doing is only opening to the people that have current reservations. I know that everybody's ready to get out there, but we just feel that it's safest at this time with who we have on the books to keep us at a certain percentage of our capacity to ensure that we can enforce that social distancing is adhered to at the park. As well, our boat ramp is open. It's been open for a couple of weeks now, but that still remains under the restrictions of just launching a boat. At this time, we aren't open for any type of picnicking, swimming, anything of that nature. So we are expecting a really nice weekend this weekend. Temperature's supposed to be in the 80s, close to it Saturday and Sunday with no chance of rain at this point. So if you are coming, just know that we are at a limited capacity. So if you are coming this weekend, make sure to get there early, because when we get to the certain capacity of our parking, we will have to limit access to the park. So moving on, as Ken said, with the museum, it will open this coming week, actually on Tuesday, and that will be the foot traffic only. But while the museum has been closed, they've been hard at work with some good exhibits and everything else. So make sure to get by there and visit, see what they've been doing during this time of closure. And lastly, the Performing Arts Center, had a lot of shows that we had to cancel and reschedule for later dates. So while it's been empty for the last several weeks, we will be doing some really good virtual concerts over the next few weeks, and as well we'll be rescheduling all those shows that were canceled, as well as a good lineup that's already on the books. So it's going to be a really nice summer and fall for the Performing Arts Center. So that concludes all I have for today.
Good morning, Pickens County. Pierce Womack, Deputy Director here with Emergency Management in the county. Just want to talk a few things about health and safety real quick for you this morning. We've all kind of been pushed with all the symptoms of COVID. We all know fever, cough, shortness of breath has been publicized for quite some time. So please continue to monitor those as we move forward into our phases. Let's don't get complacent. Let's don't get forgetful about what we've been doing the last couple of months. Recently, the CDC has added a couple of new symptoms, which are chills, repeated shaking, muscle pain, headache, sore throat, and a new loss of taste or smell. Again, these are very, very generic symptoms that have been added. So, use those as you screen yourselves. Use caution, obviously, as we're out in public. Social distancing is a brand new word for everybody's dictionary. I think probably the most popular word of 2020 that we've seen so far. So continue to use social distancing. 6 foot's what's been recommended, but obviously more than that, anything you can get is better. Wearing masks is something big that we've seen so far. Lots of folks are creating their own, buying reusable masks. Remember, anytime you're out in public, grocery stores, large big box stores, it's recommended to wear a mask. You obviously don't have to, but that's one of the best ways you can protect yourself and others from being infected with the virus. If you are using a mask, remember every time you touch that mask, you're potentially touching the COVID virus. So wash your hands. Obviously, clean that mask with some type of a disinfectant, or if it's a cloth mask, make sure and wash that appropriately. As we move forward, as you come home, any clothing that you could remove before you come into your home is always best, especially your shoes, and you can try to prevent that from getting on your floors. Obviously, we all have kids that are kind of playing around, so we don't want to infect anybody. So anything that you can do after you've been outside to protect that from getting inside of your house, please do. We start talking about cleaning as well at home and at work. Only use COVID-19 approved cleaning solutions. A lot of folks are just using regular things that may not be approved to kill the virus. So make sure and look at your labels, research that on the cdc.gov website to make sure that you're using the appropriate chemicals. Another thing that you could use is also bleach. You can do 1/3 of a cup of bleach with a gallon of water and use that as a cleaning solution. But again, please don't mix chemicals. Please use caution for that as you're inhaling those as you clean your homes. A lot of questions that we've been receiving is about cleaning. How long do I have to look back? So if somebody hasn't touched the surface in 7 days, if your office has been unoccupied for 7 days or more, the virus is found not to survive after 7 days. So schools, workplaces that haven't been occupied in over a week, it just needs a good cleaning, not necessarily a disinfecting, but a good cleaning. Again, it's not going to hurt to use any type of COVID-19 approved materials, but if a space hasn't been touched in over a week, then it's not as big of a threat as something that's being used every day. Businesses reopening, we want to urge you to screen your employees as they begin their shifts. Set up a little workstation where they can come in and sign out a sheet every day, checking the boxes to make sure they don't have symptoms. They can do a self-test of a non-touch thermometer to make sure they do not have a fever. And then have each employee do the same thing as they come off shift, and keep that documentation with you as you go forward. If you can cut employees, if you can change the way employees work, stagger their entry times, and try to minimize the contact for lunch breaks, anything that you can do to limit that contact is great. Plexiglass screens or windows between the employee and the worker, and customers could also be something you can do if you have to add those as well. We've seen the governor put in the restrictions on how many people can be inside of businesses, which is 5 people per 1,000 square feet, or 20% of the posted fire marshal occupancy. Again, we're all following those rules and continue to do what we've been doing for the last several months. Removing seating, large areas where the public can gather, where customers can gather, workers can gather. Remove that seating, or either try to cover that seating to prevent anyone from gathering in those spaces. Post signs, that's a good reminder for folks to try to prevent that congregating. Also, again, back to the mask, you may want to encourage all of your employees and or customers to wear masks. Again, this is just a prevention to keep anybody from getting infected, because we would hate to have to go back to a previous phase or go back to a lockdown. So work with us as we try to get back to normal over the next couple of weeks. The best thing you can do is, obviously, if you have any signs or symptoms, please stay home and contact your healthcare provider.
Good morning, Lisa Bryant, Director of Human Resource. Just going to talk to you a little bit about the things we've already done to protect our employees and how we're going to move through this phased reopening. We've followed the guidance of our governor and the public health officials who have advised us to allow employees to work at home and rotate shifts. Some of the things that these gentlemen have already talked about doing, staggering shift starts times, end times, to limit the contact that our employees have with each other. We have been closed to the public for some number of weeks, and we will begin bringing our employees back on Monday to be in the offices working together. We are currently working on protecting our employees by means of barriers being placed between employees, spacing their work areas out 6 feet apart, limiting the number of employees that will be in one location. So those are some things that we will be working through on phase one as we begin to have our full workforce back together again. And then as we move into the additional weeks going into phase one and phase two, we'll begin to see some foot traffic here in the public buildings that we have not seen in the past few weeks, and that will be by appointment only as we begin to move towards opening up full access to the public to the services that we provide for the citizens of Pickens County. We're also gonna keep in mind that this is not business as usual. Things will not look the same when the public starts coming back into the buildings, and we're making sure that we're doing everything we can to protect our employees and to protect our citizens of Pickens County. So you'll see different signage. You'll see that there are not a lot of seating areas where people can sit and wait. We will have some limited seating for those that do need a seat while they wait, but you'll see signage in the windows, markers on the floor reminding people to stay 6 feet apart. So things will look different, but the services that we provide to the citizens of Pickens County will be the same. So we're going to move into some questions that have been asked, and I'll start with the question about masks. Will masks be required, or should we assume that it is now safe to go into public without one, since more things are now opening up?
We do want to encourage folks to wear masks. Wear masks if you can. If you're in an outdoor open setting, you're not as at risk as if you are inside of a closed business or some type of facility. So please work with us and let's wear masks over the next several weeks going forward, at least until we get further in the phasing process.
Okay, another question. When will the courts open back up? I've had a court hearing canceled because of this. Originally it was to be heard in March. Now it's been rescheduled to May 7th, and I'm not sure if that has been canceled.
It's a good question, and I'm unfortunately not going to be able to give a direct answer to that, other than to say the operation of the court system of the entire judicial branch is run by the State Supreme Court out of Columbia. They have, over the last few weeks, issued various orders that give directions to the local judges and the local clerk of court's office. So the best advice I can give in response to that is for you to call the clerk of court's office, and they will be able to advise you if your hearing is on. The court system has made huge strides in the last few weeks to be able to allow for online hearings. So they've shown some flexibility there, and I have seen some of that as it has been developed live for us to do online hearings. So call the clerk of court's office. If you need help with that number, we will be glad to give that to you. We'll post that here on this video.
Okay, how much control does the county have over local businesses like restaurants and hair salons opening up again? And how does the county intend to exercise that control?
Make sure I get this right, Pierce. So generally speaking, the county has some limited ability for business closures or area closures. If there's, I'll give you a bad example, but if there's a fire in an area, the county has the authority to keep the public out of that fire area. If there's a huge outbreak of some type of infectious disease or hazardous material, we can keep you out of that area. But for this type of pandemic, where it seems to be uniformly spread throughout the county, we're looking more at the governor's office for guidance. So if we had a specific area of intense outbreak, we would look at our general, what's called police powers, to respond to that and to limit access. But as we stand now, for businesses, for interaction in the public, we're deferring to the power that the governor's office has, which is much broader and much stronger.
Does this plan include consideration for summer travel and the threat of relapse? So does our phase 3 plan take those things into consideration?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's actually part of the point of the 3-phase approach. We're targeting for June 1st to have our new normal be the way we operate, that we're open, that traveling can happen, and visits can happen. Again, that we can invite people into our parks, into our communities, into our centers, and to do so under a new approach where we know what we know about social distancing, about wearing masks, about best practices for cleanliness and sanitation. So the idea of the 3-phase plan is that if we take a step forward into a phase and we see some negative impact, we'll be able to go back to an earlier phase. So we want it to be adaptable, and we want to be able to change to conditions. We are learning through this process lessons we never knew we needed to know. And so as we learn those, we are adapting and developing plans such as our 3-phase KickStart plan.
Can we make parking across the road from Jocassee Boat Ramp available?
So that is a state park, so it is out of our jurisdiction. Lake Jocassee, although it does border Pickens County, Devil's Fork itself is in Oconee County. So we don't have too much information on that park. You know, just not speaking for the State Park Service, but I do know that as well as us, the state parks are opening today, May 1st. Now, I still don't know, you know, they still have to adhere to the social distancing rules and everything else. So the best advice I could give is to contact Devil's Fork directly. And I don't have any contact information for them, but I think the number should be on, if you Google Devil's Fork State Park, you should find the number to contact them.
And I believe that's all the questions we have for now.
All right, Jamie Burns is operating the cameras here, our community relations manager. Is that a new version of the title?
Yeah.
I keep changing it a little, I don't know why. But nevertheless, Jamie's done a great job helping us here today. Have you gotten any other questions just through the online feed? No, okay. Well, feel free to call the county hotline number, and feel free to reach out to the various departments as we develop this plan and as we implement this plan. I want to thank the county staff again for their thought process, the deliberation, the hard work they've put into us planning for our kickstart in Pickens County. We can't wait to see you all. We can't wait to get back together in our parks, in our buildings, in our public meetings. But one of the things we're trying to do is to be cautious. I would rather people say that we were too cautious than too reckless. And so that's what we want to do. Thank you all. We will probably, what we'll do is update you the Friday before each of these phases. So you would look for our next briefing like this to happen on, I guess that would be May 15th, in advance of the May 18th planned opening of phase 2. So thank you all. Be safe out there. We love you, Pickens County.